श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। अनिलो प्रेमा धना करुणा प्रचुर। जय अनिलो प्रेमा धना करुणा प्रचुर। हे ना प्रभु कथा गेला आचार्य ठाकुर। हे ना प्रभु कथा गेला आचार्य ठाकुर। कहाँ मोर स्वरूप रूपा कहाँ सनातन। कहाँ मोर कहाँ दशा रघुनाथ पतित पावन। कहाँ मोर भट्ट जुग कहाँ कबीरा। एका काले कोता गेला गोरा नटरा। पाषाण कोटिबा माता आनाले पशिव। गौरांग गुणेरा निधि कथा गेले पाव। से सब संगेरा संग जे कैला बिलास। से संग न पाया कांदे नरोत्तम दास। Sesabanganaya kande naratamada Sesangana paya kande Je Anilo Prema Dhana Karuna Prachur Hena Prabhu Kotha Gela Acharya Thakur
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyadyadeshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we celebrate Srila Prabhupada's disappearance from this world. We just heard in Srila Prabhupada's class that his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, passed away 40 years ago, I think it was mentioned. So now also 17, Prabhupada passed away 77. Yes, again 40 years. Exactly 40. So as Srila Prabhupada also explained in the class we just heard, that on the spiritual plane there's no difference between appearance and disappearance. Avyabhava, Tidobhava, appearance, disappearance. And Srila Prabhupada often gave the example of the sun. The sun is also appearing and disappearing. Morning appearing, evening, sun disappears. But factually, the sun is always located in its own orbit, its own position. Only from our vision, the sun appears to appear and disappear. In one of the tribes in Africa, tribes people, they factually think that the sun in the morning is being created and in the evening it is being destroyed. So when the sun in the morning appears, they are celebrating, they're dancing, and in the evening they're crying, they're lamenting, thinking now the sun is destroyed. So similarly, materialistic people, they also think in terms of birth and death, It is quite bewildering when they hear about Lord Krishna's birth, so-called birth, and also about Krishna's disappearance. They think in similar terms that Lord Krishna takes birth and then he dies. But as Prabhupada so nicely explained in the class, on the spiritual platform, there's no appearance, no disappearance. Everything is eternally manifested. So that, especially in the Western countries, people don't know this. Here in India, in Eastern countries, Eastern philosophy, there's a common understanding that the soul is eternal. Lord Krishna is eternal. Our relationship with Krishna is eternal. There's a general concept understanding. But in the Western world, the people don't know. And the entire world is eternally indebted to Srila Prabhupada, who, on the order of his spiritual master, spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And we are all eternally indebted to this. Even in India also, there are so many misconceptions about Lord Krishna, about the true process of devotional service. There's so much misunderstanding also. As Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the class we just heard, that there were so many sadhus, and Srila Prabhupada thought Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was just another sadhu. He mentioned that he had bad experience about so-called sadhus. Myself also, when once I went on a journey from the Bay of Bengal, I followed along the Ganges River all the way up to Gomukh. I visited all the different holy places along the Ganges. And I have seen many, many sadhus. Some sadhus, I believe they were genuine, but many, many other sadhus I have seen just sleeping the whole day and begging and sleeping. So Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that, this is another sadhu. But then, of course, when Srila Prabhupada heard Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur presenting the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in such a strong, convincing way, then Srila Prabhupada understood this is just not just another sadhu. That's a genuine spiritual teacher, spiritual master, guru, genuine guru. And then Srila Prabhupada accepted immediately. So similarly, we experienced that Srila Prabhupada, he was not just another guru coming from India, selling some mantras in the West, as we have experienced in the 60s. Some gurus came from India to the West at the same time Prabhupada came. And we also had similar experience. We could not take them very serious. But when we met Srila Prabhupada, we could understand this is not just another guru coming from India. But every word Srila Prabhupada spoke, we felt he transmitted transcendental knowledge. That was the difference between Srila Prabhupada and the other so-called gurus from India, that Srila Prabhupada simply gave us transcendental knowledge. In his Bhagavad Gita as it is, this is why he gave that title to his Bhagavad Gita, as it is, not another interpretation. There were so many Bhagavad Gitas in German language also, many different editions of Bhagavad Gita. All very nice poetry, but nobody understood. Nobody understood that the actual message of Bhagavad Gita, nobody understood. Nice poetry, nice words. And some of these translators, commentators of Bhagavad Gita, they even went so far as to explain, as you know, Krishna means black, black means darkness, darkness means ignorance, therefore Krishna means ignorance. All kinds of strange interpretations. But Srila Prabhupada's translation of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bas. Bhagavad Gita as it is. Similarly, the process of surrender to Krishna, Bhakti Yoga, Srila Prabhupada also presented to the entire world as it is. How to surrender to Krishna. Not by practicing this yoga, that yoga, Indian gymnastic. No. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam. Kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gati anyataha. The Srila Prabhupada immediately gave that process, that Yuga Dharma, how to surrender in this age of Kali to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada gave the first activity, preaching activity he performed when he came to America, New York. He just sat down, Tompkins Square Park, chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He gave that process, how to surrender to Krishna. Savadaman Paditaja Mam Ekam Saranam Bhaja. Lord Krishna demands in Bhagavad Gita, surrender unto me. How? The Prabhupada gave that process. And so many, the youngsters at that time in the 60s, they did not accept anything cheaply. They were skeptical, challenging, in a challenging mood. With the intellectual hippies in the 60s, they had this challenging mood. And yes, they also challenged Srila Prabhupada. When he gave his presentation, his classes, sometimes they stood up and they challenged Srila Prabhupada. Now, I remember there was one hippie, long hair, long beard, and he was wearing a long coat, black coat with the big silver stars on it. So he stood up right in front of Srila Prabhupada and he challenged Srila Prabhupada. Can you see God? Challenge. You talk so much about God, Krishna Supreme Personality. Can you see God? And then Srila Prabhupada replied, yes, but you are in the way. So the hippie was what? Because behind that hippie, standing up hippie, there were the deities, altar deities. So Prabhupada said, yes, but you are in the way. So Srila Prabhupada, he had that sense of humor. He spoke very, very strongly, but at the same time he had a great sense of humor also. And that made it more easy for people to accept Krishna consciousness. Not just threatening. Prabhupada, he had a great sense of humor. But he never compromised. That's one of the most important features of the Srila Prabhupada spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world. He never compromised. He was, yes, preaching according to time, place, circumstances, and he dealt with the different people in so many different ways. He did not say the same thing to the parents of devotees, to his own disciples, to scholars, to religionists. He spoke differently. but he never compromised. Once he mentioned in one letter to one of his disciples that my Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he never compromised. Similarly, I never compromised, and you, my disciples, also you should not compromise. And similarly, the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they should also not compromise. Never compromise the preaching and the practice of Krishna consciousness. This was Srila Prabhupada's strength. He could have made millions of disciples right away. But Srila Prabhupada, he was not after disciples. One time he gave the example, there are so many stars at night in the sky, but there's only one moon. And Srila Prabhupada, he was after the moon, not having thousands of stars. He wanted to have moons, shining, continuing to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. There's still so much work to be done. The preaching work is not finished. So many places still people don't. Just recently I flew in an airplane to New York, from Europe to New York, and next to me there was one lady, she was a businessman, and on the other side one businessman, and they noticed, of course, I'm dressed in Vaishnav dress, and they started asking questions. What are you doing? I explained, and I asked them where you were coming from, and they were both from New York. Can you imagine, both from New York, and they didn't know anything about Krishna consciousness. They never heard about it. I thought, wow. So sometimes we are under the impression that we spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. No, there's still millions of people, they don't know they never heard about Krishna consciousness. They don't know. There's so much more work to be done. And now I'm, since the last years, I'm spreading Krishna, preaching in Mongolia. Mongolia, far, far away place. And certainly the people don't know anything about Krishna consciousness at all. But it's such a unique experience that to be able to give Krishna consciousness to people who never heard about it. That pioneer preaching spirit, there's nothing more satisfying for a devotee, for a preacher. And to be able to give Krishna consciousness to people who never heard about it. So this is what Srila Prabhupada gave us, because he had that pioneer preaching spirit to give Krishna consciousness to the Western world, English-speaking countries, and we similarly, we imbibed, we experienced the same spirit. And immediately, although just being a few years in Krishna consciousness at that time, we also wanted to spread Krishna consciousness, and we went to so many different places. To the communist countries at that time, very, very difficult to preach. Or Arab countries also, very difficult. But we didn't care, we just went, sometimes risking our lives for Krishna. So this we inherited this from Srila Prabhupada because he had that spirit. And then we took on trying to serve Srila Prabhupada in his mission to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And we have to continue, we should continue. And that will only be possible if we keep Srila Prabhupada in the center of all our activities. Srila Prabhupada must always remain in the center, in the forefront of all our Krishna conscious activities. That's the meaning of founder Acharya. Srila Prabhupada is not a great guru of the past. He is the founder Acharya. He is the Acharya, he is the Shiksha Guru for every member of this Krishna consciousness movement. Not just the preeminent, most important Shiksha. No, he's a foundational Shiksha Guru, meaning that all other Shiksha Gurus in ISKCON, they derive their knowledge from Srila Prabhupada's teachings. It's different. That's the meaning of founder. Founder means originator. Everything came from him. That's the meaning of foundation, founder. So we have to keep Srila Prabhupada very, very strongly in the center of all our activities. Meaning that we should hear on a daily basis from Srila Prabhupada how Srila Prabhupada explains what is Krishna consciousness, what's the philosophy, how to practice. We have to hear from Srila Prabhupada first. Then of course we hear from our own spiritual masters, from senior Vaishnavas. That's natural. But first, our first duty, our first business is to hear from Srila Prabhupada. He is the founder Acharya. So today we are celebrating Srila Prabhupada's disappearance. Let us take advantage of it, and throughout the day hear Srila Prabhupada's classes, his bhajans, read, study his books, and then Srila Prabhupada, Lord Krishna will be very pleased. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.